What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing a little something different. We will be attempting to answer the age-old question: is Carlos Correa good at fantasy baseball? All right, let's get started. So, way back in the day, 2015, Correa was a huge prospect, ranked above Lindor, top prospect. People were super high on him, especially for dynasty leagues. Then got in some problems with the media. He wasn't playing the best. We got the whole cheating scandal. People just don't like him in general. Here's a little compilation of Carlos Correa just being annoying.
We earned that championship. And Cody didn't have a good World Series. So for him to be talking about us stealing that championship, if you don't know the facts, then you gotta chill.
High fly ball to left. This ball is up and
All right, so there you have it. Like I said, he was in a cheating scandal. He's just an annoying guy. Just saying, he's not the easiest guy to root for. Next up, let's just look at his rankings through the years. 16 and 17, people thought he was the next big thing. Ranked 11 and 12. He dropped down even into the 100s in 2021. So it's been a pretty steady decline as he's gotten older. Just for this year, 2022 upcoming season, Fantrax Dynasty rankings has him slotted in at 61. CBS a pretty generous 43. ESPN at 69. Nice. Fantasy Pros 70. So compared to his contemporaries at shortstop, this is kind of what I decided was more the top tier of shortstops. I consider Javi Baez to be like the bottom of the top tier. These sites have Correa like at the very bottom. Even RotoChamp below Mondesi, below Jorge Polanco, Fantasy Pros below Baez. ESPN Dynasty rankings you got to pay for, which there's no way I'm doing that. CBS is the most generous, ranking him kind of in the middle of the pack. So now analyzing the baseball reference, this is the most important thing. Age, this is good to see. Last year he was only 26. People kind of think of him as being older, but he's entering his age 27 season, should kind of be his prime years. His 162 game averages, he puts up good numbers: 94 runs, 29 home runs, 105 RBI, 277 average. Now, he's not going to give you stolen bases. He used to. That's one of the reasons people liked him in fantasy. Those days are behind him. Do not be expecting any stolen bases from Correa. Other than that, the main categories are solid. Could be better, but they're solid. Now, let's look at OPS plus, what I deem as the most important hitting statistic, because it takes into account your on base percentage, slugging percentage, and it adjusts it to whatever ballpark you hit in. Compared to his similar comparisons, Corey Seager has a higher career OPS plus than him. Correa had a solid 127. Everyone else below him. Tim Anderson and Javi Baez are way below him, basically at league average, which is 100. Story, Bogarts, and Lindor are a little higher, but still quite a bit below Correa in career OPS plus. Also, Correa is actually the youngest on this list. He is slightly younger than Seager, so that's something to take into account. Now, going into Carlos Correa's injury history, because this is really important. 17, 18, 19, he had injuries in all of those seasons. 2020 and 2021, he was healthy. Let's look at those injuries. 2017, out 42 games with a thumb injury. That was on a swing, so kind of fluky. 2018, back injury. You never like to see that. Same thing in 19, the back injury came back. It's not good. Also, this is interesting. 2019, he missed 50 games, his longest stint on the IL of his career, because of a broken rib. Now, here's the headline. Astros shortstop Carlos Correa says broken rib was caused by in-home massage. So low-key seems kind of sus, but and maybe it's just a fluke. Maybe he's just really injury prone. 2020 and 2021, as I said, he was completely healthy, but it's just something to take into account. You are taking that risk if you draft Carlos Correa. Here were his stats during those 17 through 19 seasons. It's a pretty big sample size, 300 games, and he was putting up much better numbers, 101 runs and in a 162 game average, 33 home runs, 115 RBI, and an OPS plus of 130. So that is good to see, and it makes you wonder if he would have stayed healthy. These were kind of his best seasons. Like what could have happened if he would have stayed healthy? This is also pretty interesting. So in 2021, he had a very solid season, but if we look at these July numbers, everything fell off. Only one home run in the whole month of July, a 178 batting average, 558 OPS. Pretty brutal. All these other months, he had a very solid season. If you look at the OPS, 847, 817, 1.089, and then he finished off strong too. So what happened in this month of July? He was placed on the COVID IL July 9th. And I had him on my team. I remember this happening. He was on fire, and then COVID hit him, and he just fell off. I don't know if it was because of him being sick or just missing games, kind of getting out of his routine. But he really fell off hard. And just like the injuries, it kind of makes you wonder, like, if this kind of fluky thing didn't happen, what kind of numbers would he have put up by the end of 2021? So just something to think about. Okay, I promise this is the last baseball reference page. We got the postseason batting. Big postseason history here, big sample size. We got 334 plate appearances, 18 home runs, and a 272 average, 849 OPS against the best pitchers in the world during the highest stakes. You love to see that out of your fantasy players. I know postseason does not affect the fantasy season, but it just shows Carlos Correa is a clutch hitter and he can get it done when it matters most. He's actually tied for 7th all time in postseason home runs. Really, that does not matter at all. Just a fun fact. Now, for the nerds of baseball, this is a look at Correa's 2021 Baseball Savant page. Best thing here is the exit velo and the expected batting average. Those are two great things to look at, and 97th and 96th percentile in those. The weakest thing here is hard hit percentage and barrel percentage. You would definitely like to see that be higher, but it's not too bad. It's above league average, but it's not what you want out of like a top tier fantasy player. Spray chart, you can see he hits all over the diamond. He can go oppo, can go dead center with it, but most of them are going to be pulled. But the important thing here is that you're really not going to see Correa get shifted. You don't have to worry about that. He's going to spray the ball all over the place, and it's just always good to see. It's a sign of a good hitter. Now, compared to his players that are pretty comparable with Correa, Xander is a little more consistent across the board with the baseball savant, except for exit velo is pretty weak. But Correa and Xander's baseball savant pages are pretty comparable. Seager blows Correa out of the water. You can see everything is red here. He puts up good analytical numbers on baseball savant. Story is pretty inconsistent. A lot of blue. Correa has a much better baseball savant than Story. And then Lindor and Correa are pretty comparable. Lindor had a rough 2021, so a little weaker numbers here, but the baseball savants are pretty comparable. Javi and Tim Anderson are much more inconsistent. Tim Anderson, as we know, is baseball savant does not like him. He puts up a lot better numbers by the end of the season than this would show. But yeah, it's just kind of funny that these two players are ranked ahead of Correa in some lists when these numbers are so much worse. Now, I know that you got to put up the numbers, and Correa has not always been doing that because of the injuries, because he's just been inconsistent. But it's just something to look at. Now, where will Correa sign? This is an important question, especially if you're in a dynasty league. you got to be thinking where you want him to be playing in for half his games for the next 5, maybe even 6, 7 years. I am a little worried if he goes to Detroit. I think his home run numbers will naturally go down in such a big park, but his average might go up a little bit in that park. But I know only half your games are played at home, but I would be worried about him playing in Comerica, which I personally think he will be. Now, if he goes to Yankee Stadium, it's such a small park, it could boost his numbers. Uh, Phillies and Cubs, it's not super likely he'll go there, but they're both contenders. And might have to be a little worried about him moving to the NL. A lot of hitters struggle with that, but overall, what park you're playing isn't too important. It's really just Comerica I'd be slightly worried about. So overall, just to conclude here, I think he's a value. I would draft him higher than what most lists put him in that like 70, 80 range. I think he should be valued higher than that. He still should be in his prime age-wise, and he's had a couple of healthy seasons these past 2 seasons. He really does put up solid numbers, and his baseball savant numbers are good. There are better numbers out there. Seager, some of the more higher-end shortstops, like obviously Trey Turner, Tatis, who are really not even in the same ballpark as Correa. But there are some cons. The injury history, he's not going to get you any bags. Could end up in Comerica, which is kind of be tough to see. And he has not put it all together for a whole season, which is what's most important. So just something to think about, taking all of these accounts of Carlos Correa, his playing abilities, his analytical numbers, his stats. And lastly, he's pretty hard to root for. I don't know, he's so annoying. But I'd like to thank everyone for watching this edition of Cup Check. I know it's a little different. Maybe we'll have more player profiles like this in the future. But yeah, leave a comment where you're going to draft Correa this year, if you're going to stay away from Correa this year. And thank you guys for listening.